Well, kids, here we are with another fireside chat with your biological stepdad, Uncle Jasvinder. Actually, I stole that intro from a guy named Ben Eller, who I'll link in the credits because it's just too funny. But let's talk about disappointment for a minute, shall we? Because disappointment, unlike leprechauns and fairy godmothers and unicorns and such, is a thing, and it's something that we all deal with some degree of regularity. That doesn't mean frequency, but it happens, right? It's part of life. So there's a lot of ways to avoid the feeling of disappointment. Like, let's just say, when you think long term, then you don't take things as hard in the moment to moment. When you have a well defined purpose and a direction that your life is committed to that's really based in the big picture, then you can become sort of disappointment resistant, right? That's all well and good, and we do talk about those things, I think, quite a bit in these videos here and there. At some point, I'll definitely do a talk about things like big picture and long term thinking and the impact that has on your moment to moment reality. But something that I did not find enough information about in a lot of self-development teachings, spiritual teachings, coaching that I've received over many years now is, what do you do when you can't get your thinking to that higher elevated plane and you're just in your emotions? You're just kind of stewing in them. Now, I just did a video about anger, and that's really, so this is going to be a very related conversation to that. So go ahead and check that out. The Right Way to Be Angry. That's up on YouTube. It's up on my website, jasvinder.life. It's up on Facebook. It's everywhere. All right. So when you're just in it, and it's too late now to take the philosophical spiritual high ground, because that's your emotional reality in that moment, and it would be dishonest and actually repressive to sort of force a positive higher perspective on yourself in that moment. You've got to honor where you're at, and if you are in a place where you have cultivated that sense of peace and looking at things in the long run, looking at things in the big picture, and really looking at, let's say, reverse engineering from something like, what do you want your obituary column to read? That is the ultimate reverse engineering, and that's a big part of having peace of mind in the moment to moment. So all these things are wonderful if that's really where you're at. But if it's not, then you do need to have a vocabulary to interface with the emotional state that you're in. Disappointed, angry, intolerant, impatient, you name it. These are just things that are going to happen from time to time. And again, taking the high road it's too late once you're just mired in it. So when you're mired in it, we need a new way to deal with things. It's the difference between preventative and treatment, if you want to think of it that way, because all of this spirituality and self-development is really preventative. What I was interested in when I got into this stuff as a teacher and a coach was, I do know the preventative measures, but there seems to be very little about treatment, right? Framing your mind, calming your mind, sort of transforming your energy to a more positive, equanimous kind of place is all preventative. When you're in it, you need treatment. Are you with me so far? So what I do when I feel disappointed is, number one, I just pout. I just pout for a little bit, just a little bit, because I let it sink in that I am disappointed, that I had expectations and hopes and things that I wanted to have come through for me, and they didn't. So I'm not going to pretend to feel any other way than how I do. So if I'm disappointed, I just give myself a few minutes and I just sulk, man. I just do it. Also, I know that I'm a little bit stubborn, and if I want to sulk, I'm going to sulk. So I just give that to myself, actually, and it transforms very quickly, because what happens is when I consciously permit myself that indulgence in what would normally just be negativity, then what happens is I recognize that I'm giving myself the space to just be who I am from a place of real acceptance and generosity. And then, boom, what happens? Now I'm in touch with that. Now I'm in touch with being kind to myself, not forcing myself, accepting myself. Now that becomes my reality. My reality becomes one of kindness and acceptance and empathy and compassion. And then where my mind goes, it just leapfrogs, right? Where it skips like a stone over a pond. It goes from disappointment to pouting and sulking to recognizing that I've just given myself the window to do that. And now I'm in a touch with kindness and compassion and patience and acceptance. And then where it goes from there is now I'm in touch with the fact that I actually have something worth being disappointed about. I'm actually really living life and going for it and putting myself out there and daring to want things and hope for things and really try and sort of put things out there in a way where it's not just me in isolation. Somebody else or something else has to come through to make these things a reality. So what that tells me is I'm not sitting in the stands watching other people play the game of life. I'm on the court. So now I've gone to a place of, I would say, feeling very present to the feeling of being alive and really living and taking risks and leaving myself with no regrets. Right? How about that? So quick video, relatively quick, still about 7 minutes or so, but it's all relative. Not a man of few words, I realize. So think about that for a second, guys. Just replay that to kind of get the idea, and leave me some comments down below. Let me know if that was useful for you. My name is Jasvinder. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon, guys. Good night.